My name's Sofya Gollan and I'm a writer, director, and I've been doing that for the last decade. Mostly writing, but now getting back into directing film. And on the side, I'm also on play school. I do singing and dancing for the under fives in sign language. I started with the Australian Theatre of the Deaf being an actor for the theatre company, and I kind of stayed there for about 4 years, and then I applied for and got into NIDA because I thought I wanted to be a bit more mainstream. But after a while I kept getting offered the same kind of roles, and the reason I became an actor was to make film, to be in films, and I wasn't getting any closer to that. And it was probably when I was about 19, 20, I kind of had the radical idea that maybe I could make films instead of just being in them. And that's when I got it into my head that I'm going to go to AFTRS and do a degree, and then that was how I was going to break into the industry. And, you know, I did do all of those things, but it didn't quite play out exactly the way I intended to. But for the last few years, I've just been writing stuff. Gimpsey is an idea I've been sitting on for a little while because I've got a feature version that's centred around a girl with a mobility disability. But that's taken a lot longer to pull together. So I decided I really wanted to make a short film using the same kind of character, maybe 5 years earlier, as a teenager. I've been sitting on the story for a couple of years, mainly because I wasn't sure we were going to be able to find the actor to play the role, and I knew that I wanted someone with a mobility disability to play the role. I wasn't confident that I was going to be able to find someone who had the disability but could work a sewing machine, for example, believably, who could act and who was charismatic on screen. So there were a whole number of things that I needed to be fulfilled by this mythical actress. And when a friend of mine pointed me to Dima Kim, who's starring in the film, I just went, we can go, we can start, we can get this film up off the ground, because we had our actress, we had this amazing, beautiful, luminous girl who was perfect. So from that point on, I quickly wrote up the short film, wrote up the scenario. It's just been an idea about when you're a teenager, how you feel about your body, how you feel about disability, and I just wanted to explore the beginnings of, say, activism on one's behalf in terms of cutting a better deal for yourself. This isn't about a girl who's overtly political, who is fully fledged, I'm a Crip and hear me roar. It's more about a girl who's realising she has autonomy. She can say, no, you know what, I don't like it. I don't like that joke about my name anymore. And that's what the film's about, capturing that moment where she's learning to stand up for herself and realising that it's okay. There's a lot of films about disability that are kind of made by people who don't have a disability or complete full awareness of what it is like to have a disability. I mean, there are some great films out there that I've loved. The Intouchables, the one, I have all the names of the films I've seen recently, but they touched on those subjects really well. But on the other hand, there are a whole number of films where it's sentimental. It's kind of, okay, you know nothing about the subject and you kind of put a story on top of what you think would be a nice thing to do regarding disability. Like, for example, the number of scripts I've read where you have a blind violinist falling in love with a deaf artist. It's a really common trope in short films in Australia, and I thought, okay, these guys actually don't have a full understanding of what it is to be a person with a disability. So I thought, well, I better get cracking, write my own story, write something that might be a bit more authentic and a bit more interesting. Maybe provoke people to new insights, if you like. You've got to write from what interests you and what the authentic place of story is, from who you are as a person and what your experiences have been to date. I mean, I write a lot of stories about people who don't have disability or nothing to do with it, and they're just as authentic as the next film, I suppose. But it's nice to be able to write a film like Gimpsey and have a full understanding of some of the issues and moments and feelings that surround the characters. Generally speaking, I try and do half an hour each day minimum, and that usually generates about 5 pages of whatever, whether that's an outline or whether I'm scripting pages or wherever I am in that stage of writing. Generally speaking, I do an outline of, say, the general structure of the story, because I'm kind of one of those people who need a rigid outline and then I kind of colour it all in with the scene. At the moment I'm writing a play that needs to be delivered next month, and doing revisions on a couple of features, and so what I'm trying to do at the moment is spend an hour on each one each day that I get a full writing day done. But I always try and park myself down 30 minutes minimum every single day, because then things just kind of unfold themselves, get themselves made without me even really trying. In the script, we've got a really specific requirement of a particular type of slide that's got high sides, and it's really essential for the final scene of the film, and we're actually having trouble finding that right now to lock down the location. I mean, locations are always a challenge when you've got those specific props that you need that are a story point. So I've kind of stitched myself into a corner there, that we have to find the right thing in the right council who's going to not ask us $5,000 location fee and so on. But I'm pretty sure we'll lock that down in the next week or so. And like I said earlier, finding Bridie was the biggest challenge, finding the exact right person to play the lead. And we've done that challenge. And at the moment, the campaign kind of rolling itself along really well. So hopefully we'll meet target soon, and that will be another fantastic challenge to kind of get over the hill on. As for challenges in terms of dealing with the crew, Morgan pulled together a really fantastic, experienced bunch of people who are doing this out of the love of their hearts. And that's been really, really fantastic. I do a lot of pre-planning. There's a fantastic resource by the director who made the film Detour. He published a book on how the director prepares, and it's really detailed. It goes down into the detail of what you put in your folder to carry around with you while you're shooting. And a lot of it involved breaking down the script into beats, working out who's carrying the scene, who does what to whom, then getting that down in a timeline on the schedule, and then storyboarding, and then all the preparation that goes into working with the DOP. This is what it's going to look like, and these where the shots are. Because in doing that, you know exactly what you need to tell the actors before you're on set. We're not going to get much more than maybe an hour's rehearsal on this short film, because we've got to fly in one of the actors from Brisbane. So it will be a matter of having a read through, an hour's chat, and then we'll be on set. With being on set, it'll be about remembering the action word, the action element of each beat, of each emotional changeover, and guiding the actors or provoking them into those performances. One of the actors is less experienced than the others, so I'll be really looking to work on getting her out of herself and focusing on the other actor, because the minute an actor starts focusing on themselves and what they're doing in the scene, it goes dead, it becomes lifeless. So as a director, my focus usually is in getting to the actor to focus on the other person they're in the scene with. And if they're alone, then it's about getting them to project forward into what does that character want in the future, that making them act a certain way in the present. So I find that is the challenge, and actors have different ways of approaching. Some people tend to get it in the first 1 or 2 takes, whereas other people will take maybe 7 takes to get to where you need them to go. And if you've got 2 actors who have 2 very different styles, you've really got to work out, okay, so I'm going to do the close-ups on this actor first, because they're going to get it in the first 2 takes. But this guy, they need the rehearsal, the run-up of acting opposite this other actor. So by the time we switch the camera over, this person's going to be ready to deliver on, say, the 8th or 9th take. So you kind of have to factor in, you find out really quickly in the first morning shoot what kind of actor you've got on your hands. Well, this is the first time I've crowdfunded a film, and because I've been through film school and acting school, it took me a while to realise that crowdfunding is actually a legitimate way of raising finance for a film. It's still so new. I was talking about it with someone this morning and I was saying, it's only been around for 2 years, 3 years, that crowdfunding is actually a really viable way of raising funds for a project. I think if I'd done it maybe a year ago, I would have felt a bit more of a desperado, kind of, give me money, I'm going to make something. But now I feel like if this is the project, this is what I'm going to show you, and this is where your money's going to go. I feel like, well, we're presenting you with a legitimate investment in a story that really needs to be told. So I have a lot of good feelings for crowdfunding. I think it kind of brings back the power to the filmmaker to say, well, this is the budget we need. We're not being irresponsible about tackling a project that may need more money than what we're asking for. We're kind of setting our expectation to, this is what we need to achieve for the film. We need X amount of money. Are you interested in investing? And so far, it's been great. People are interested, and they are interested in seeing a story that has a little bit of difference to it, with a different point of view. It's not a story that would be told otherwise, because it is left of centre. It is not part of the mainstream. But my focus is telling a story the best way I possibly can. So it's going to be really well made, hopefully, and it will reach the people that it should reach, who want to see a good story, well made, on film. All of the short films that I've made to date were shot on film, Super 8, Super 16 and 35mm. So this is actually my first digital film ever. So that's really exciting for me to kind of go down this path that I've been wanting to do for a long time. Short films still have a market in terms of festivals and in terms of reassuring investors and potential business people that you work with on feature films that you can actually deliver on story, on this is the mood of the piece that we want to make, this has a viability in the market. If a short film does well on the festival circuit, then you can be quite sure that the central people involved are going to have a good shot at making a feature film that will potentially do well in the market. So I do believe short films have a place in that they do demonstrate, weed out very quickly the people who need to practice a little bit more, making short, making web series, before they can actually be seen as viable people to make a feature film. I'm making this short film because it has been a while since I've directed. I knew that in order to go on to the feature that I want to make, the investors and people who are going to sign above the dotted line need to be reassured that I can still direct. It's pretty brutal. They all want to know what you've done last. They all want to know that you can still direct, still get on with people. So I believe short films do have a place. Well, if you get into Bayliss Festival, then you have a quite clear path set out ahead of you, in that once one film is in, then other festivals will invite that film to participate in subsequent festivals. With the Bayliss Festival, there's plenty of opportunity to meet international sales agents, people who can then help you go up a step to the next project. And also festivals are a great place for seeing what's happening on the international stage, seeing what's relevant now, what kind of work's being produced. It's so good to be able to meet other filmmakers, to have that camaraderie and to find out what the pressing concerns and stories are emerging. A lot of people I know work other jobs. I think if you can move into television, that's the best way to kind of keep employed within the industry, earn a living, and keep adding to the toolbox as a writer and a director. And of course, breaking into TV is a whole other skill set that you need. That seems to be the path for the successful filmmakers in Australia, that they make television. When you leave film school, you have this really inflated sense of importance and I'm going to make it on the scene. And of course, when that doesn't happen, you really quickly kind of decide what path you're going to take in order to sustain yourself financially and skillfully. The Australian Film and Television Radio School is a very different place to what it is now. It was much smaller, much more focused on the individual filmmaker, whereas now it's much more of a course-based, broader general theory school. But I still think it's really useful in picking up skills, although mind you, I'm teaching myself Premiere Pro at the moment, and I'm using online YouTube, and lynda.com's holding my hand, and all of those people, I'm using all of those resources in order to get my head around a new editing software. So you can learn a lot from the internet. The internet has been a really great place to be in terms of picking up skills. I'm teaching myself how to make proper full-length movies on the iPhone as well, because I was a bit like, what do I do for sound? How do I get to sync it up? And then you just go to the internet. They've got the answer for you. So I suppose film schools are great for giving you credibility these days, for brokering networks, for brokering introduction to people who can potentially give you the next job. So I think there's pros and cons for both. You know, as a female director, I'm pretty acutely aware that the film industry comes across as a bit of a boys' club, and it is my experience that it is true. But I don't find that, you know, guys who are producers and directors and writers, they're actively excluding women. It's just that they're more a bit oblivious to how they can actually incorporate and include the female voice into production side. I mean, my experience working with guys is that they've always been helpful, interested, keen, but it doesn't translate to the numbers or the statistics. They're simply not there. There's a big void of women in all of the production, in the kind of creating roles of writer, director, and so on. And I don't know if it's because they're not being funded, or I do know in my case, I disappeared for a number of years to have children. It was an inescapable biological fact of being a female person wanting children. So I think it would be fabulous if there were more support for women coming back into the workforce later because they've had to raise families. I absolutely don't see this as an issue for male directors, because, you know, they've often got the lovely wife at home who's got her own little thing going. She's raising the children though. So I think Meryl Streep announced that initiative about getting older screenwriters back into the industry. It'd be great to have something like that happening here for screenwriters and directors. I mean, I didn't disappear completely because I wrote films and I got funded for them. But directing is such a different gig because you have to be there face to face every single day. So it is an issue. And, you know, I'm kind of a card-carrying member of the, hey, we're female, we can direct. So I will raise my voice and say, you know what, things do need to change a little bit and get shaken up a bit. Hi, my name's Sofya Gollan. I'm making a short film called Gimpsey. You can find us over at Possible, and we'd love your support.